And we're back with another NBA Observations. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us right here at the NBA Observations. Truly appreciate you doing so. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Please like and subscribe. Go ahead and make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when the latest NBA Observations or Lakers Fast Break hits right to you right here on YouTube. And it is greatly appreciated if you do. But I've always got a great NBA observer, and he is back with us once again. It's always great to have him here. It is, of course, a guy who does a great job on the J Notes, part of the fan-sided experience right there for you. And he has got a lot to write about, especially where the Jazz ended up. It is Matt John. Matt, great to have you here. Great to have you back. Much to discuss with the playoffs, the drafts, but I wanted to touch on Boston here, if I may. But how you been, man? How you been?
I've been okay, just kind of treading along. Just like this is a little irrelevant, but like one of a show that I have tuned into for the past few years has been The Boys, and unfortunately that show has
Mm-hmm.
declined so badly over the past few years that like I'm just kind of like, let's get it over with, guys. Let's just get this done. Like
They're about ready to, if I'm
uh,
remembering, because they've got the finale coming next week as we're recording this, and I think it's being in theaters. But I've heard this season, I have not seen it yet because I need to renew my Amazon Prime. But in doing so, I've heard very mixed reviews on this season so far.
they're really dragging their feet. I'll try my best not to spoil it. Like characters are dying, but they're
Yes.
taking their time to kill them. And it's kind of like, guys, let's get it over with. All right. Like, so yeah, someone just died on their penultimate episode, but honestly, it didn't feel like a penultimate episode. This felt like, oh, there's going to be 2 or 3 more episodes of this. No, it's all going to wrap up next week. And I'm kind of like, really? This feels like the last installment of the new Star Wars trilogy. We're just like, how are you going to wrap this up? Like, there's so many things that's happening right now. You haven't really developed all these plot lines, and now you're going to wrap them up. Like, there's a first, second, and third act, and it feels like you're skipping over the second act. So
I don't blame you. I think this is not uncommon where TV shows, successful TV shows, they just don't know how to finish it. It is very few that you could say a series just like they really nailed it on the landing at the end.
particularly in the streaming service era, I'd say there are
Yeah.
quite a few shows that really took the world by storm, and then after that first season, they didn't really recapture the magic. Stranger Things, for example,
Yeah.
still haven't finished that show, and I'm not sure if I want to because I heard it wasn't that good. The finale wasn't that good. Ted Lasso, awesome in the first season. After that, they like second season was still pretty good. Still felt like they rushed a few things, and third season thought it was terrible. Like they just changed everything about the show. So I'm not excited. I can't say I'm excited about fourth season. I think I'll wait until all the episodes come out before I watch it.
I will tell you, as a Star Wars fan, one show that I think did really good. They had a couple filler episodes in the first season, but overall was really good. Is Andor. I don't know if you ever caught
I've heard that.
Andor. Okay.
I just lost so much trust after watching The Rise of Skywalker. I'm just like, oh, so you didn't know what you were doing when you started this. You just kind of made it up as you went along. So because Rise of Skywalker just like it almost like it was trying to be a finale, but it was also trying to erase what the Last Jedi did. Like, and it was just like, no, guys, you can't do all of this in one movie. Like, so yeah, the boys is kind of like going through the exact same thing where it's just like, okay, I mean, I'm still invested enough to watch what's going to happen in the end, but I'm no longer excited about it. I'm just like, fair enough. Like,
I hear you on that one. Again, I still have season 5 to catch up on, but like you. I'm hearing everything as far as across the board, and none of it's like glowing, and that's always concerning me because I'm going to cram it all here in about a week's time once that final episode comes out. But Andor might get your fix if that's the case. It's 2 seasons long, and it actually has really good stuff. The prison stuff with Andy Serkis is really good when he is in it. And just yeah, overall, it's really good from beginning to end. Couple filler episodes in season 1. Season 2 has a really climactic moment in Star Wars history. So if anybody out there has not caught Andor, and plus it makes Rogue One a better film when you go back and watch it. the ultimate compliment I can give it is that Andor sets up Rogue One even better as far as it's concerned. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, don't get me talking pop culture because I talk about that twice a week for 2 hours for radio. So I'll
I
I'll
covered
be
that
doing
for
that all
time.
day long. Yeah, exactly. So I know you've got the Batman Beyond shirt on, and I've got Cobra Kai right there. So yeah, I'll be
I
talking
need to finish
that.
that show. That show actually is good. Like I haven't
It's
watched the final
cheap.
season, but I need to.
I will say this. Because I'm old enough and I was a teenager when the Karate Kid movies came out. I could not stand them. They was so cheesy. It was represented the 80s cheese part I didn't like. But then they turned away around. The producers, when they put this show out there, I watched it on YouTube because originally the first season was on YouTube, free of charge. Anybody could watch it. And I was just like, they really turned it on its edge and made it something really good. It still embraces the cheese. It has a lot of cheese, but it embraces it. And it does so in a way that it knows what it is throughout all, the 20-minute long karate fights where no one really gets hurt, or actually there's a couple times, but it's like it is so funny. But it's good and it's entertaining, and it put it made Daniel the bad guy for a little while, and it was really good, and a way it was constructed. And I highly recommend Cobra Kai. Watching all the seasons, it is a good watch on Netflix. So I will leave it at that. But we are here to talk basketball as well. But Matt, I wanted, before we get into the playoffs and the draft, because you've got some interesting things probably to say about the Utah Jazz, because the rumors are flying right now at the Chicago Draft Combine as we talk about this. But Boston Celtics, you and I were talking just before the show about that, but I hadn't had a chance to speak to you because I know, as someone who is a Boston fan, um, because the expectations going in the season were not that great. They were expected to be right around a 500 team. Most people thought. I thought they exceeded that. But then the expectations, when they change, if they don't meet those changed expectations, it now becomes disappointing, because you and I both know, and you and I both predicted that Boston was going to be the team that was going to go to the finals. We thought that in a East where it looked like it was a free for all, that they were going to be the one on top. Well, in those last 3 games in that first round against Philly, it was like, okay, it's the old adage: you live by the 3, you die by the 3 when you're Boston, because they're so attuned to that 3-point shot. Your thoughts on Boston? I mean, can you say it was a success this season, or how do you place it? Again, as someone who is closer to it than I am, how do you perceive it?
It's kind of a loaded question, because I feel like what the playoffs exposed is that Celtics team was kind of a high floor, low ceiling kind of team.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. First of all, congrats to them and the Nuggets for making me look incredibly stupid, because that was my finals pick, was Nuggets Celtics. I'm just trying to think about it. It's also like when Tatum was out, I was kind of like, oh crap, that actually might be it. Like, it was actually pretty amazing that they managed to get themselves back into that game twice when it looked like Philly was going to run away with it. So it's one of I'm trying to think of where to begin on how they failed, and I think a lot of it stems from, I will say that the Heat is now going to start. The Heat is now going to be on Missoula going forward, because this kind of seems to be a trend with him, where I feel like the right decision was right there and he wouldn't do it. He does tend to double down on the wrong decision. Watching that series kind of made me think, why is Jordan Walsh not playing? Why is Hugo Gonzalez not playing? Those guys provide you energy, and how Philly's beating you is with their energy. They have these perimeter guys, Edgecombe, Maxey, George. They're kind of killing you in that regard, and you can at least fight fire with fire when you bring in these high energy wings. And it's not just Walsh and Gonzalez, it's also Ron Harper Jr. The other problem was that we also saw, this is what happens when you have 3 centers who can really help you in the regular season, but in the playoffs, that's a really big risk. And Embiid kind of tore through whoever the Celtics threw at him. It was kind of annoying me that Keita was so reckless in that series, and that was kind of out of character for him. And it's to the point where I'm kind of like, I'm concerned about him going forward, that, you know, it's in the Celtics' best interest to keep rolling with him as their starting center. As impressive as he was, like, he just got into foul trouble again and again and again. He was good in a couple games, but not all of them. And like he finally, like, what was also kind of annoying about that last game was Keita and White both finally showed up. Like, just as Tatum went out, if they had just played like that in any of those other games, Celtics win the series. So I think that this series kind of exposed that, you know, this was a fun team to watch in the regular season, but they couldn't be a team that you could take seriously. This should have been over in 4 or 5 games. I will give props to Philly. Like, they definitely had a team that matched up better with Boston than I thought. But I do feel like the Celtics, the overarching narrative is they blew this series. And the fact of the matter is, since then, Philly got embarrassed by the Knicks, which further emphasizes that, like, no, this was a blown opportunity, and I think running it back is just, it's not a good idea. Some changes need to be made.
And in doing so, Philadelphia got rid of Daryl Morey. They're keeping Nick Nurse. It's always so weird how organizations are like, we like the coach, but we're getting rid of the GM. So the GM comes in, they can't pick their own coach. So, okay. All right. So how are you really going to be a president of basketball operations if you really don't have the coach of your choice? But okay, what have you? I will say this. If you've noticed and you go back as far as this decade, as far as the coaches who've won titles, they seem to get a pass for a year after they win the title. But after that, they're on thin ice because the expectations are still there from the title that they won. Like, look at that. Frank Vogel. What happened to him? Twice. What happened to him? Budenholzer. What happened to him? Twice. What happened to him? Who else? Nick Nurse was fired from Toronto. You know, there are championship winning coaches in the last decade who just they don't get a pass, but they don't get it for very long. And do you think Mazzulla will fit in that category of those type of coaches, or does he have more cachet? Like, let's say, like, I don't want to say Dagnall, because Dagnall, you know, he's just the latest right now, but some other coaches that may, you know, have a long-standing tenure and are look like they're rock solid. Or do you see him somebody as possibly being, like you just said, on the hot seat that could be happening in the near future?
Well, another one that didn't even take 2 years. Mike Malone fired after less than 2 years, like after they won the title. And that's another one of those, you know, was that on him, or was that just the Nuggets just didn't have the depth to survive like they did when they won the title back in 2020?
And they got tired of the bickering between the GM and the coach on that one.
And they fired both of them. Mm-hmm. So, So to answer your question, like, I do think next season it is going to be like Mazzulla is going to be on. He's going to be on the hot seat next season, and because I do think that some of these, like, struggles, they're hard to brush off. It's hard to say, oh no, that it was just bad strategy. Like 2023, they were down 3-0. And, like, they really should have, like, that was the Eastern Conference Finals. And if I'm being honest, they should have won one of those 2 games. The third game, Miami just had a magnet ball. If they had been swept, I do think that would have maybe, like, gotten Boston to rethink Mazzulla. Like, when they won the title, like, as much as I hate to say it, like, the point of their team was just that loaded, actually, I think has more merit now, that they were just that stacked that it didn't matter who, like, you could have had, like, an often criticized coach like Doc Rivers, who's gotten nonstop criticism. He probably wins with that squad. Like, I'm not trying to fire a shot at Doc, but you see what I mean. Like, in last year, like, what really went wrong with the Celtics was Porzingis couldn't play. He was clearly sick, and the Celtics spent the entirety of that playoff run trying to get him going, trying to, like, come on, Kristaps, get it going. And it was clear he couldn't play. And you know who could play? Luke Cornett. And it wasn't until they were down 3-1 that they were like, okay, let's just play Luke Cornett. And, you know, they finally got some results. I do think the Celtics should have beaten the Knicks that series, but it was just they kept trying to play Porzingis when he clearly couldn't play. Yeah. It's like, come on, Joe, take him out. It's been 10 games, and he's not getting – in fact, He was better in the Orlando series. So this is getting worse. So put in Luke Cornett, who's been awesome in San Antonio. So between this year, like I don't mean to fire any shots, but like it was clear that the Sixers had no qualms going up against Sam Hauser. They like the Sixers strategy is obvious. Like it's obviously pretty straightforward one that you and I could make. Dare anyone not name the Jays to beat you? And like they have Sam Hauser in the corner. Yeah, the Sixers are more than happy to let Sam Hauser beat them. And just like they're more than happy to go right at Sam Hauser to score. So that's where the notion of play Jordan Walsh, play Hugo Gonzalez. They aren't snipers like Hauser is, but they do more for you than Hauser does. Like Hauser is pretty awesome for what he does, but it was clear in that series that's who the Sixers wanted to target, and that's how they came back. So like you're doubling down with Hauser, like you're doubling down with Porzingis, even though the series is telling you don't play those guys. Like this is bad for you. Like play the guys that can help stop what Philly or New York is doing. So I do think I do trust that Brett, like for what it's worth, I have not lost any faith in Brad Stevens. Anytime he sees that something's wrong, he fixes it. That's how they won the title in 2024. They said some changes have to be made, and they did it. So I do trust that Stevens will make the right moves this summer, but it is on Mazzulla to turn this roster into a title contender again, because this is like as much as fun as this regular season was, this is very underwhelming for a team that won a championship 2 years ago. So if it happens again, if the Celtics get ousted in round 1 or 2, then you have to say, all right, is Mazzulla really our guy?
And it's just, again, I'm in a weird place. Of course, I'm a Lakers fan, so I don't have love for Celtics. But when you look at it objectively, as far as the Celtics, it's like, okay, they had the expectations of being a 500 team, but then they became a 700, winning team as far as a team with 50 plus wins, a really successful season. They did get back in one of their star players. They didn't have them for the entire season, but they had them at the end. And then the expectations changed. So I could see the fan base. I'll relate it to the Lakers fan base. If that would have happened to Lakers fan base, they would have forgotten all about the fact that the Lakers were expected to be a 500 team. Then the expectations changed, and now they didn't meet those expectations of getting to the finals. So now it's like, or even close to the finals. So it's like, okay, what the hell's wrong? What the hell? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this picture here? This is not right. This is, they start going off on the Lakers. So, and I'm assuming the Celtics fan base is doing the same because the expectations changed. But when you look at it and take a step back, you realize that this was a team that wasn't projected to go high anyways. But now that everybody is going to be hopefully back for you guys, or hopefully back for the Lakers and all that, the expectations now going forward will be different going forward. But yeah, this season I think was just house money for both your team and my team because of the injuries that were involved for both of our teams.
Yeah, and I do hate saying this because I basically am contradicting what I said, or I think the last time I was on this pod, of just how amazing Mazzulla is. I do think he still is going to win Coach of the Year, and I think he's deserved it. But unfortunately, I can't help but compare this to Dwayne Casey in Toronto, where like he really got the best out of those rosters.
Yeah.
But then the Raptors would just embarrass themselves in the playoffs every time. And they finally said, okay, this is the same story we're seeing play out. We play really well, like we get hopes up, and then LeBron sends us home. Like he's making it very clear that we are not close to a title. I do think that Mazzulla definitely has a little bit of leeway because they won the title. If they hadn't won the title in 2024, like if they had, say, blown it, like granted they lost like 3 games in that title run. But if they lost, like I do think there would be a lot more attention focused on Mazzulla's position as head coach. But it was a gap year. Like this was like no one thought the Celtics would be the 2 seed. But I do think that this definitely the pressure that when the Celtics lost last year, there wasn't any pressure on Mazzulla. They just said, okay, we just had a bad series, whatever. But I do think after this Sixers series, it's kind of making people start to think about Mazzulla's abilities.
Well, I liken it to JJ, who again has coached the team to 250 straight seasons, but in the playoffs has left people just like, okay, the inexperience and things like they, in Minnesota went against last year. He coached, he made the decision to play only the starting lineup for the entire second half of a game and totally blew up, his entire, the players as far as the starting lineup was concerned. And, they faded down the stretch and lost that final game. Now, when it comes to this year, they're down 3 with just a few minutes left, facing elimination the entire season, and he sits on the bench, the all-time leading three-point shooter ever in the NBA, and sits him down for Maxi Kleber. That's almost going to be like a trivia question. Who came in? Exactly. Maxi Kleber? Yeah. And so these are the things. So however well Missoula or however well Redick does on their coaching decisions throughout the season, they're always going to be remembered by what they did most recently and last. It's like, what have you done for me lately, Matt?
Yeah, that was like I watched the end of that game and I was like, Rui Hachimura, like he does not miss. Like, so
well, he does if he's sitting on the bench, Matt.
Well, and funny enough, the Lakers still got a good shot. Like, but that is definitely one of those. Why? Like, you could have.
Maxi was there to set a screen, but the problem is Austin Reeves didn't even use the screen. That's what makes it even worse. He didn't even use the screen.
And the Lakers can also attribute to, hey, you know what? Luka got hurt. Reeves was clearly playing hurt. Like, we still made it to the second round, even when like fate was conspiring against us. So we got that going for us. Like, so there, I will say that, like, as much as I've I've criticized Missoula in part because I praised him so much. Like, but he does deserve the benefit of the doubt, much like Redick does. I do think Redick has proven that he is a competent coach. Like, but I do think that is one of those decisions where I'm just like, why did you bench your best shooter? Like,
yeah.
And more important, by the way, like the Celtics keep things under wraps, like better than I think I've ever seen any team. But it wouldn't shock me if they go after Hachimura. I think they'd want him on their team.
I don't blame you a bit. I just because Lakers can never figure out whether or not to keep him on the bench or put him in as a starter, because he himself, his consistency throughout his career has always been the problem as far as it's concerned. He's just, in fact, I remember the couple games when he was with the Washington Wizards before he was traded to Lakers, 0 in one game, 30 in the next. And there you go. So that is in typical. Now in years since, he has been more consistent and become more consistent player. And of course, his playoff performance will garner him a lot of money and interest in the free agency market. And I can see the Lakers not being able to keep him. But during the season, this season, he has been inconsistent to the point where they actually had to put him off the bench. They had to change him from the starting line of the bench. So it's going to be a weird thing. But to me, he's an important player because the fact in the playoffs, when it matters the most, he has proven time and time again, that's when he shows up. He may not show up for you in January or February, but he definitely shows up for you when it matters the most. And we've seen that in multiple playoffs in multiple years. So it seems to be a pattern forming. And like you said, Matt, if you want a proven playoff performer, that will be very valuable on the open marketplace.
Yeah, I do. He's definitely going to get paid. I am looking forward to seeing, because like I think Lakers are going to definitely be heavily involved in rumors throughout the entire offseason with Reeves, Hachimura. Like, got someone who's covering the Jazz, wouldn't shock me if there's going to be Kessler rumors. Of course, if Ayton opts in and the prevailing narrative is that he will, like, who knows what they'll do with that. Like Marcus Smart coming back, as I understand it, he was pretty awesome for the Lakers in the end. Like, watching him make that clutch.
But it's what you told me and what fans always tell me from Boston about Smart. You live by the Smart, you die by the Smart, because it's up and down all the time.
He is definitely a one-of-one type player.
Yeah.
Where, he takes these, he does make horrible decisions, and at the same time, he just makes these plays where you're just like, how did he do that? How did he see that coming? So that's why you live with what he does. Like, I remember he shot the Lakers out of that Celtics game that they played against each other. Like, I was just like, yeah, we'll let Marcus Smart try to beat us with his 3-point shot. And at the same time, like, I was like, yep, back when he was a Celtic, you live with that just because he was that impactful of a player, even if his shot wasn't falling.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend, but it's always great to talk Lakers Celtics with you because we can have these conversations and about that. But as a Celtics fan, it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, we have a ton of respect on this show for Brad Stevens as a GM, because he is more consistent with his talent evaluations than Rob Pelinka, which we would like to have as far as it's concerned, a more consistent GM making decisions. I mean, Rob will hit a 21. Rob will hit a blackjack and then go like 5 or 6 hands coming up, like he hit over, he'll hit one and then you go, all right, there you go. But to Brad is something that and like with Sam Presti and whatnot, just more consistency on the talent evaluations, because as you saw with the Lakers and OKC, Luka aside, there's a sheer talent disparity between the Lakers and OKC. It was plain as day. As soon as SGA goes out there, you should be winning those minutes, and they won none of those minutes when SGA sat out, and that's because of the talent that OKC has, able to go 10, 11, 12 deep, whereas the Lakers past man number 5, it gets pretty hairy from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Lakers do from here because, like, you got the LeBron situation, you got the Reeves situation. Like, I'm very interested to see what LeBron does, and I'm very interested to see like how the Lakers view the Reeves Doncic pairing, because as Reeves is fantastic, I'm not denying that. I think he's an excellent player. Like, but I do think the defensive shortcomings between those two is not something the Lakers should ignore. Like, you can put a bunch of really good defensive personnel around them, and it may not be enough. So I am looking forward to seeing what the Lakers' approach is. I'm looking forward to seeing what defensive personnel they add this summer.
I understand he was hurt. I understand that, and playing hurt. You even mentioned yourself, and he got 2 20-point games plus games against the best team in basketball. But the final game, 27 points, but 8 turnovers. And SGA, when they opened it up and stopped trapping in game 4, because they made an effort to try to guard everyone else, and they stopped really hard trapping and doubling SGA to make his life difficult. They said, SGA, you try to win the game. And he scored 35 because he always kept getting Austin and Luke Kennard on islands, and they are just so bad defensively. It was a feast. It was a feast for SGA each and every time. And again, if you commit to that with Austin Reeves, I'm trying to communicate this as best I can, but there's some people out there and I understand why. They see Austin as a homegrown product, came from, undrafted. That great story. It is a great story, but it's really going to be very difficult for the Lakers to achieve a status where they could beat an OKC or San Antonio with a backcourt with that lack of defense that you're describing right there, Matt.
Yeah, it's also like this league. It's become like a stronger, like a more needed commodity than ever to just have guys who can play on both sides.
Yeah.
So like and this kind of goes for Boston too. Like it actually wouldn't surprise me if because I do think the Celtics kind of proved with their playoff loss that they need a center, that they need a dependable two-way center. And I do think the Lakers kind of do as well. Ayton, I think, what is the read on Ayton? I thought he did fine, but wasn't fantastic.
It turns out to be fine, but that's because it's again, up and down and up and down. You didn't know what you were getting with the DeAndre Ayton experience from one day to the next. And when you realize still that this guy was the number 1 draft pick, it's not even close to what is being represented out there. And while again, you would get sometimes a 20-10 game from him, you would also get 3 points from him the next game. You didn't know what to expect from him from game in, game out. And it's nice at $9 million. Okay, relatively speaking, I know we would all like to be paid $9 million, but NBA wise, $9 million, it's a value contract at that price to see what it was like, and I'm sure he's probably opting out because he thinks he'll get more. But for us, I think it's something where, okay, you know what? Have a great day. We're not going to pay you. The Lakers should not pay DeAndre Ayton any more than what he would be entitled to earn if he picked up that contract. If he wants more, go get yourself some more, because again, it's not, he is, it gets to the point where the value outweighs the means. The value outweighs, the monetary price outweighs what you're getting in value with DeAndre Ayton. It's a frustrating thing. You see that one play, you can see the talent, the reason why he was chosen number one, and then your next play you see, man, why is he still in this league? It's just so frustrating with him as well. That DeAndre Ayton experience, I think for most Lakers fans, was not a good one overall.
And that's just playing to like what I think. It wouldn't surprise me if the Celtics and Lakers, they either one, even though like, I mean, I trust Steven's judgment, but I could see them talking themselves into someone like Miles Turner, someone who, when you look at his talents on paper, you're like, whoa, a guy can space the floor and block shots, and he's a lob threat too. That's amazing. But then you see him on the floor, you're just like, well, really just the idea of this guy is actually a lot better than who he actually is. Yes. And at the same time, he's a year removed from being the starting center on a team that was a Tyrese Halliburton Achilles tear from winning a championship. Like, and you look at how bad things went in Milwaukee, and you could argue, was it really, Turner's not a guy that you can just put on a crappy team like Milwaukee and expect them to get so much better. Yes. But put him on a playoff team like Boston or LA, and he could actually be a huge difference maker. But again, it ties back to the idea of him is actually really exciting, but the real him, not so much. Like you see why he was in trade rumors for so long in Indiana. But like the overarching point is that like forget what they're getting paid, like from just their history. If you had to tell me Ayton or Turner, Kata or Turner. The unfortunate part is how much Turner gets paid for what he does.
Well, again, it is so great to get your insight as a Celtics fan, as far as a guy who can really cover the league as well. It is Matt John. Please go ahead and check him out today on the J Notes, part of the Fan Side Experience. We'll get quickly into the NBA playoffs because there's only 2 series left right now before we get to the NBA conference finals and whatnot. Detroit and Cleveland are actually starting up here in a little bit. I've called this a home team series. Whoever wins at home is going to win. Detroit, if anybody is going to win on the road, it's going to be Detroit. What are your thoughts on this series? Because again, I think it's just going 7. I don't mean to just default it and just discard it. It's not, but Cleveland has not shown any capability to win on the road, and Detroit looks like it has no problem beating Cavaliers at home.
Well, it's the funny thing because as we're talking about center options, who's awesome, and like both the Lakers and Celtics, I think would really take him if presented the opportunity. Paul Reed, yes. That guy is good.
He's been waived. He has been waived in this league and cut in this league.
It's kind of amazing that he is. Like every time I watch him, I'm like, this guy. You put him on the floor, your team plays better. Like so, and it's funny because the Pistons have Jalen Duren, they have Isaiah Stewart. But I feel like every time they put Reed on the floor, they play better. Play Paul Reed. He's good. So it really is going to depend on is Bickerstaff going to pull a Missoula and just be like, no, we have to play Stewart or Duren, even though Duren's been pretty bad. He's lost himself, I think, a few $1 million in this playoff run. But like anyway, I do think it will depend on, does Bickerstaff go with the guy who's made the team better when he's on the floor? B-ball Paul, like even back when he was with the Sixers, like he's a good player. Like he just provides energy. He just makes the smart play. He won't take, shots away from your guys. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what his limits are. Like that really could be the key in this series. Like if he doesn't play, I could see the Cavaliers taking it. And if he does, I think the Pistons could take it. I hope he does play more. Another factor is that James Harden is just such an enigma in the playoffs. Like he was terrible those first 2 games, a lot better in the 2 games after that. But like, who knows what version of James Harden the Cavaliers are getting? Like it also shows like this is why like teams are afraid to invest in James Harden. Yeah. Like even when he was at his peak, he was never really the most dependable playoff performer. The odd odd thing about saying that is that the one series where he was actually really good was actually against the Celtics 3 years ago, where he put up 2 of his like best 5 performances in just that series.
But the problem is in the other, what,
The
3
other
or
games
4?
he was so
Yeah.
bad.
Yes.
Like
I
it's
remember that.
so like I do think that there are some clear as day options here. Like I respect the Cavaliers roster construction. Like, but I do think this is the Pistons series if they just play this right. And it may sound minor, but I do think play Paul Reed and you're golden. I do think you will probably take the next 2 games of this series.
I think Paul Reed's the type of player that if you play him 15, 20 minutes, you're going to see the real benefits from him. But if you get a longer taste of that, the more you get of him, the less effectiveness does that make sense as far as the
Yeah.
less effectiveness he might have? Let's say like a 30 to 35-minute starting center league. I don't think that's effective for him, but as a jolt of energy type guy, like we saw in the last game, or was it the game that he really produced in like 15, 20 minutes? He gets you a plus every single time that he's out there. So yeah, definitely in those type of doses, he can really do wonders. Like Jackson Hayes at times for the Lakers, he would come like in the last game, 18 points in the last game, gave you that burst of energy, but then sometimes he can go ahead and be invisible coming off the bench as well. But definitely, like you said, Paul Reed, I think, has found a niche in the league and now is finding himself security with what he's doing with Detroit, Matt.
Actually, like now that you meant, I agree with that sentiment, and I do wonder if that's what Neemias Queta really is best at, just kind of
Yeah.
being like a 15 to 20 minutes guy, not your starting center if you're trying to win a title, but a guy that you can sub in and he will give you really good energy as long as you are not depending on him too much. But I still stand by my stance that he is a game changer, and I really want to see more of him in this series. I do think he really could swing this series as long as Detroit plays its cards right.
I agree with you. And then they're playing in Detroit tonight as a 2-2 here in a little bit as we record. So definitely looking forward to seeing. And I know he'll probably give you a big game if he's given the proper amount of time. I agree with you on that. And then the other series, it is San Antonio and Minnesota. It's heading back to Minnesota for game 6. San Antonio has done this to themselves. The elbow by Wemby didn't get suspended for it, but still got kicked out. Should have won that game. If he was in there, they would have won that game. They've done everything they can to elongate this series more than it needed to go. And I understand it's mainly a young team, so they don't have to really have that much rest before they play OKC. But it seems like we're just delaying the inevitable with that series. Minnesota gamely trying. Edwards is playing out of his mind on 2 really bad knees. They've lost DiVincenzo. They've had every shortcoming that you can throw at them, and still tried to provide energy and motion into the game and into their game. And it's really admirable. I really give them a lot of credit for sticking in this series as best they can. But I still get the feeling when I watch this series that San Antonio has done this to themselves.
Yeah, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. Like I do like watching that game last night. I was like, San Antonio kind of just has control of this series. Like it really is up. They control their own destiny. So it's all a matter of like if they lose, it's because they just lost the wheel. Like and so like the Timberwolves, like they've definitely put in a pretty good fight. Like I am looking forward to seeing what they do this summer because I do think that 2 Western Conference Finals appearances and then they're what I believe will be an inevitable elimination at the hands of the Spurs. Like I do think that will force them to make some changes. And luckily there are some good players on just slightly overpaid contracts who I think could help them going forward. So like I do think the Spurs, they definitely have this. Like I think watching that game, like in the first half, it's like, oh man, Wembanyama's having his like LeBron moment where like it's like, no, I'm here and I'm not going away. Like he just straight up dominated and against Rudy Gobert, who just shut down Nikola Jokic. Like, so I do like he was having that game where I remember LeBron having against Detroit back in 2007, where he made it clear. It's like, nah, if you guys think I'm going to, drag my feet, like establishing myself as that guy, you're wrong. I'm here now. So I'm more than I'm very excited to see what he will look like against the Thunder in the next round. But yeah, I do think that this series is over.
I think Rudy Gobert, it's an easier matchup. This was weird as it sounds. Nikola Jokic, as far as I'm concerned, because he's a slower footed center. Wembanyama is a cheat code because it's 7'5", 7, whatever height he is. He's on the run. He's nimble. He's very quick and agile for his size, which creates problems for Rudy Gobert, especially if he picks him up at the free throw line. He can still do a crazy amount of things for a guy his size. And also, as well, San Antonio likes to put him on the run. They like to get him on the move. They like to get him the ball when he's on the move and heading downhill towards the basket. So they really know that they can take advantage of a slower footed center like Rudy Gobert. And I think that's why Nikola Jokic is actually an easier guard for him than Wemby. And Wemby is a cheat code, but although conversely, Wemby's lack of strength, once it gets underneath, we've seen where Gobert actually can beat him on the boards, which may come in handy as far for OKC is concerned. But I will say this again, Wembanyama, he is just such a pleasure to watch. It's just such a, you get the treat of watching this type of player in our generation who could do so many different things for a guy his size. And I think that 18-point performance in that first quarter, Matt, was an apology to his teammates and the fans for him, really striking out and doing the elbow. I think that was his way of apologizing to his teammates for doing that. Say, you know what? I should have been there for you guys. I wasn't, and now I'm going to take it out on Minnesota.
Speaking of apologies, I feel like Victor Wembanyama himself is like the basketball gods apologizing to basketball fans for taking Ralph Sampson's prime too early.
Oh, those knees on Ralph, man! If only those knees have been healthy, Matt.
Because like Wembanyama, I do think is basically what Ralph Sampson should have been.
Yes.
Like, and that's not Ralph Sampson's fault, obviously. Like, but I do think like still made the Hall of Fame anyway. But I think we all know that like the fact that I'm going a little off the rails. Sampson was someone who Houston said, "Oh, you're offering the number 2 pick in Clyde Drexler for Ralph Sampson? We're not doing that." Like, that's how talented he was, and that's the kind of player Wembanyama is. Like, so I am like, as much as we want to see our team succeed, we do like seeing these new faces of the NBA clearly assert themselves as, no, I'm next up. Like, you guys were counting on the days for LeBron to finally leave. Well, I am the most exciting player since young LeBron James. And like,
absolutely.
So it is kind of cool to see that in real time. And I guess more than anything, I'm happy that my team is out east while Wembanyama's out west.
This is true indeed. But man, if only his knees started to go back with Virginia, and you could just see when he was with the Rockets, just what he could have done had his health not failed him like it did, and it was just disappointing. But even he did not have the agility that Wembanyama does right now, which is just so amazing to see. And I'm hoping he can stay healthy long enough to, just as a basketball fan, yes, I understand he's in the Western Conference with the Lakers. I get that. I understand it. But as a basketball aficionado or someone who appreciates the game of basketball, I do hope he stays healthy long term so that he can give us the career we all think he can do at the end of the day, Matt.
Yeah, like and the fact like it really makes last season just makes me really hate what happened last season, because the Spurs were really on the right track, and then he has the blood clot. Fingers crossed that that's not a recurring issue going forward. That and the concussion, but I think Victor Wembanyama, kind of like LeBron took no time to prove to the NBA, no, I am absolutely your worst nightmare. Like, worst nightmare for everyone else, but obviously just like the face of the league that the NBA always wants. So I mean, it is kind of a shame that it's happening on the Spurs, a team that was dominant for 2 decades and kind of looked like they were finally going away. Not with him on the team, like they don't. It's funny how this is a little off topic, but a move that they made that's getting a lot of criticism is De'Aaron Fox, and that doesn't matter. Like, the Spurs are still a fantastic team. They're better off going with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle instead of Fox.
I agree 100%. Although if the San Antonio does lose against OKC, because I'm assuming they're going to move on and advance, but if they do, Matt, just keep an eye on the rumors for De'Aaron Fox as part of a Giannis trade. Because I think that's the one area where they're the weakest, because they have Wembanyama, but he needs additional size or strength or muscle or somebody in there in the trenches with him. Because I noticed that when I've been watching them, is that's their one weakness. They don't have a guy with size or strength underneath to go fit alongside Wembanyama. So if you position it right, you could send Fox in a deal with some first and whatever filler you want, and then get a Giannis Antetokounmpo alongside Wemby. And I wouldn't think, I've said this before. I said it to Caleb earlier this season. I think that's probably the best fit for Giannis, so that he doesn't have to do everything and has a superstar right alongside, man. But that's just me.
You pair Giannis with Wembanyama, it just might be over for the NBA, as long as you don't compromise way too much of your core.
And you get to keep your young player. If you keep that young backcourt, that would be
So I am also very much looking forward to seeing what happens with Giannis this summer, because it sounds like it really is over in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Like they're out of options, they're out of excuses. It's time to get rid of him. So I am very much looking forward to seeing who his next team is.
Well, with that, it is, of course, NBA Observations. It is, of course, Matt John, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Check out Matt on the J Notes, part of the Fan Side Experience. But before we head on out, you get to go ahead and have the pleasure of talking about the Utah Jazz, the team that you cover on the J Notes. The lottery just happened, and the lottery luck smiled upon the Utah Jazz. Although, finally, the odds, they finally were, I feel like it's the Hunger Games. The odds are in your favor. So Washington number 1, but Utah number 2, Memphis number 3, and Chicago number 4. I want to ask your thoughts on this, though. The rumors are hot and heavy about Utah because of the Utah connection for AJ Dybantsa, who has shown out to be, I guess, really well, and really people are really excited about what his workouts at the Chicago Draft Combine this week. He doesn't fit the exact need for the Jazz. You and I have discussed this. Daryl Peterson, who is most projected at number 2, who most people have projected there, seems to fit the need a little better if everything were to go as planned with both those guys. But because of the Utah connection and the fact that the owner of the Jazz happens to be a BYU alum, kind of throws things into a little perspective. Your thoughts on that? I know you've been writing about it. I know you've been looking into it. Your thoughts, and you have a little bit better ear to the ground than most on the Utah Jazz when it comes to this. Your thoughts, my friend, on it and what they do. Because again, unless Dybantsa starts at guard, because if you go for the 7-foot trifecta with Utah as your starting front court, your backcourt, you would have to put Dybantsa there, and is he a good enough fit there at the guard level? So,
yeah, let me just crack my metaphorical knuckles. First of all, before they even won the lottery, first of all, thank you, Sacramento. I have no idea why you decided to start winning your games, but you put Utah in this position. This should have been organization.
You. There's such a
why? Why are you winning? It was a lost season. You weren't even trying to lose. You lost your guys, and because of that, you went through the season from hell, but then started winning your games. And you bailed Utah out. I'm not a Jazz fan, but as someone who covers them, I'll speak for the Jazz fan base. Thank you. Because more importantly, by winning that coin flip, that was another win. By Utah winning that coin flip, they don't have to worry about giving their pick to Oklahoma City. Another problem of completely eroded thanks to the Kings. Thank you so much, guys. I don't know what we did to make you do this for the Utah Jazz, but I think they'll gladly accept it. But anyway, so it was already a big enough win that they were going to get a top 8 pick regardless. Their team is what differentiates them from some of the other teams in the top 4 or 5. Their team is already built for the playoffs. and they're going to get a golden prospect on top of that. Like it's hard to like. I think in summary, I will get to Dybantsa. There's no way the Jazz can screw this up. Like that's the biggest takeaway. It does not matter like who they take, whether it's Dybantsa, Peterson, or even Cameron Boozer or Caleb Wilson. Like I think it is going to be either Dybantsa or
all
Peterson.
4 of those guys are really good.
They're going to be fantastic in the NBA. Like they may not necessarily have the same. They're not the sure thing that Cooper Flagg was last year, but I do think they are like those are multiple guys that I think could be perennial all-stars and like they could be potential franchise cornerstones. So like it is amazing. It like they got a top 8 pick and now they got the number 2 pick, like adding to a team that's going to have Markkanen, JJJ, Kessler, George, Ace Bailey. This team is going to be fantastic next season. It's hard for like I'm trying my best not to get too ahead of myself, but as someone who's not biased towards the Jazz, like it's hard for me to like I do think there is a solid chance they will be spectacular next season. Like and so that those are my thoughts on just the lottery itself, that no matter what happens, the Jazz like they win. Like this is like everything that they've been hoping for, they finally got. Came a year late because they were hoping to win last year, but I think they're more than happy to take what they have now. As far as Dybantsa goes, like it's interesting. SLC Dunk actually made a really funny joke. They were because the latest intel is Dybantsa does want the Jazz more. He does want to continue his basketball career in Utah, which awesome. But SLC Dunk made the joke of like, "Are we the new Lakers?" So it is intriguing because you're right when you say that it's a little clunky to think about how Dybantsa would fit with this team. Like because size is not something the Jazz need. They need Peterson more than they need a Dybantsa type, and that's
well,
not
they Peterson to what they projected out to be. Not the questions with Peterson do remain as far as how he handled himself in his freshman year at Kansas. But I get you on that. The concept of what Peterson do in the limited time you saw him in, that's the player I think that would really help the Jazz. But the question is, would Dybantsa be able to develop a game that could complement the 3 7-footers in the front court? That's the question. If you drafted him and put him alongside Keontae George.
Yeah, like they're definitely going for the jumbo size lineup this coming season, no matter what. And Dybantsa definitely makes it even more intriguing because he is basically a guard with he's a wing with size, but also has a good handle. Like
he defends well though, too.
And that's something that I think the Jazz kind of need because they besides Kessler and JJJ, the rest of that roster has questions defensively.
Oh, yeah.
So like I'm looking forward to seeing like because it also doesn't sound like it's a sure thing that he will go number 1. Like so. There's so many options that the Jazz can choose from. They could even trade down if they want. They can be like, "Hey, Memphis, like if you really want this guy, like we'll get the guy that we want." Like if say like Memphis really wants Cam Boozer, like and Dybantsa's already taken, they'll be like, "Hey, you want Boozer? We'll draft him, and then you give us your best offer." So it's and not only Dybantsa, I also feel like it's rare for the Jazz to have someone who will stick with them through the thick and thin of it, and I do think Dybantsa would be that guy. Cameron Boozer would also be that guy, where like his ties to his dad, Carlos, who works for the Jazz. Like this, I do think that like Utah has really struggled keeping their best guys, like because a few of their guys have said over the years, "Okay, they either straight up leave or they all but say, okay, I want out." So it would be I think it's long past, not since the Malone or Stockton days have they had the chance to have a franchise player who is more than happy to spend his prime with them. And I do think Dybantsa or Boozer would Peterson. I mean, I think it would take winning to convince him that like he would stay, but like because of Boozer's and Dybantsa's individual ties to Utah outside of the draft, I do think if they drafted one of them, like they'd be pretty happy. I think that would lead to a long and fruitful union between the two sides. So, like, I'm sure more intel is going to come out. It doesn't sound like, even though Dybantsa wants Utah, I don't think he's going to pull an Ace Bailey and just be like, I don't want to play for you. And more importantly, that backfired on Bailey super badly. But not that anyone in Utah is complaining about getting him because he was awesome.
So let me ask you this then. One of the rumors has, obviously Utah very interested in Dybantsa and willing to trade up. And Washington, Michael Winger, the management has specifically said they're open to trades as far as it's concerned. So would a package involving Ace Bailey and the number one pick, would that do it? Or what do you think would take as far as Utah moving up that one slot to get assurance that they can get Dybantsa?
I actually wrote about this. I think if they did that, it would be a huge mistake. Like,
Oh, I know you did. I just wanted to go with your thoughts on it. I'm looking at it right now on the J notes.
So, like, I doubt that Utah would make, unless they are 100% convinced that Dybantsa is basically a LeBron type prospect. Like, and obviously that's setting the expectations way
What
too
about
high.
an economic note though? Because Dybantsa staying in Utah could be a huge win financially as well.
Like, that is true. Like, and I've also wrote about this too. Like, Utah, for everything that's going right for them, it's not going to last forever. Like, when Bailey's rookie contract is up, they have to think about, well, is it worth keeping him and Markkanen when we have to pay all these other guys for what they can do? So I think Utah is more than content to just let things play out, and just like, if it, they may not even necessarily care like whether or not they have Dybantsa, because there's no wrong choice for them. The only way they go wrong is if they drafted like Kingston Flemings or Darius A. Cuff. Like, not because those guys are bad, but because they're clearly in the tier below the top 4 guys in this class. So, like, I don't think they would do that. I know, like, I'm sure, like,
so
Bailey
the number 1, the number 2 pick and Ace Bailey, and maybe another filler pick after that. That would be too much in your opinion, just to move up the slot to make sure?
that would be too much, if you ask me. Because
Okay.
I do think, like, they say quality over quantity, but I do think having a quantity of just excellent young talent, because I don't think there's that much of a drop off between Dybantsa and Peterson to justify adding Bailey and Peterson to get Dybantsa.
And Peterson is more natural fit for where you guys are looking to fill a hole or fill a spot.
Yeah. So I just think that like, unless you really believe that, like, I would say the only way to justify that deal is if Utah really thought, we add Dybantsa to this team, like with George, Markkanen, Kessler, and JJJ, we're winning a championship with this team. Like, it's funny because, like, the other night I also wrote about Austin Reeves, how, like, the Jazz are still interested in him, but they'd have to open up cap room. And, like, my mindset is, you only trade guys to open up cap room if you know the guy is coming.
Well, like, sign and trade. That's what I've been advocating for weeks now with Austin Reeves. Sign and trade. So if you were able to go ahead and send me like Filipowski, Sensabaugh, like we've talked about, I really want offense coming off the bench. If you were to send me a package with that and the sign and trade, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I really would do it in a heartbeat, because as much as I would, it's okay to have Reeves stay. Reeves, Doncic. No, I understand they're bro mates. I understand they're golf buddies. I understand that they're great friends. I get that. I understand that, and I understand Luka wants him to stay. But the last thing you want to do, as we saw with the Russell Westbrook trade, is listen entirely to the player on who you should keep and who you should stay and who you should not keep. I really think that a sign and trade to get assets in for the Lakers, different assets, might be more beneficial to see what they can do to fill up that spot with other pieces that they can go ahead and get. But again, sign and trade with Utah for whatever filler that you want to put in, as far as Filipowski, Sensabaugh, and whatever the Lakers would want to go ahead and ask for. I think that could make sense for the team as well.
Definitely. I mean, I was overall just trying to say that, like, I guess I won't shame the Jazz if they do that. I do think that's an overpay, trading all that effort for Dybantsa. But if the Jazz did it, they're sending the message of, like, we're going for a title now. We think Dybantsa leads us to a title now, not 3 years down the line, now. So that would be the only justification. But anyway, getting back to Reeves, it's funny because he's been on the Jazz's radar even before they made. I thought it was more plausible back before they made the JJJ trade, and then they made it, but they still had cap room left over. So, like, but now it's more complicated than it was before the trade happened. Like, it's definitely, like, I do think it's not like as black and like the notion of keeping Reeves is not as black and white. Like, so I do think that there's a case to be made that the Jazz should do that because they have the chance to, and they will never get that chance again
Mhm.
once they having they will have to start re-signing their guys. Like they're going to have to re-sign Kessler and George. Like Bailey will come up in a few years' time. So if you have the chance to add someone like Reeves, like obviously it's hard to say no, but it will depend on like what the Lakers want. I'd say even the Lakers, like I say you do that deal if you think there's someone out there who is better long term next to Luca than Reeves is, then you do a trade like that.
Well, my top spots are Miami or New Orleans, to get players that fit around Luca. But if you were to go ahead to Utah and Utah came running, and then you could work, there are enough pieces in Utah to make make I think work. But I don't know if you would see like a Trey Murphy or a Herb Jones to fit around Luca, or a Khalil Ware in Miami, who I really think could be the center that would be a step up and cheaper than DeAndre Ayton and more consistent, especially on the rebounding end, as far as and who can still stretch the floor. That would be a better fit for Luke around there. So, but I still think that it's something that least to look at, and especially it's attractive because the Lakers know that they can give Austin more money and an extra year that you can't get unless you sign, unless that's they go to the Lakers for a sign and trade. So interesting. We'll see how it plays out with Austin Reeves. But one last thing on the Utah Jazz before we head on out, my friend, the Carlos Boozer angle that you very distinctly pointed out on the J Notes. Please, it's a good article if you get a chance to check that one out as well, because of Carlos's Boozer's ties. If I could say that right, Carlos's Boozer's ties to the organization, being a scout for the team, I believe is his current status. Is that correct?
Yes, he is affiliated with the organization as a scout.
Yes.
And I remember when that was first announced, I actually wrote up, "Oh, we all know why they did that."
No. And so we'll wait and see. But again, now he has a chance. The Utah, as where we talk about for trading up, Utah may want to trade down if Memphis starts eyeing Darren Peterson a little bit. Darren Peterson could be a handle on that. But then again, if Carlos Boozer, if Boozer comes to the Jazz, where would he fit on a team where you've already got 3 7-footers? You can't start him. So really, who does that help? Who does that help as far as
I really have no idea. Like I do think that Utah, they are definitely building. They kind of have the fortune of working two timelines right now because they
Mhm.
got quite a few veterans. They've got quite a few young players. Like no matter who they draft, that is part of that's part of tomorrow's team. Yeah, like Cameron Boozer would definitely be among it would definitely be confusing, but I do think the rationale would be best player available. Like they were just mind blown by how good he is. Like it would also lead to more questions like, okay, so what does that mean for Markkinen? What does that mean for Kessler? So like I do like I also wrote about Ainge's history with high lottery picks is pretty spotless. Like he is pretty fantastic at finding the right guy for what his team needs. So like if they take Boozer, I will be like, huh? But at this, like, remember that this is the same Danny Ainge who, like, when the Celtics had the number one pick in 2017, so everyone thought, oh, so Fultz is going to be a Celtic, but then like the Celtics made the deal that scratched everyone's heads. They're like, you're trading it? You're trading the number one pick? Is like, I like Tatum more, and he was right. So I do think that if the Jazz do the same thing, where like they have the chance to get Peterson, but then they got a good look at him and got the same impression that they did with Fultz. They're like, no, nah, we're gonna take Cameron Boozer. Like, so I do think that like it's something that Ainge would do, but at the same time, like because of how much of a fleece that was Tatum for Fultz, like I could definitely see I guess what I'm saying is Ainge's track record kind of speaks for itself, and as much as it would confuse or infuriate people, I do think his history kind of justifies anything that he would do.
Well, we'll see what happens. As Cameron Boozer again, Cameron Boozer is a top 4 choice. I see him going anywhere from second to fourth. That's not in question. But the question is, will he be going to Utah on a team that I don't know could really use him as well right away as a Dybantsa or a Peterson, which I think would be a more natural fit. Even Dybantsa at 6'9", does he have the guard skills, or could he translate the guard skills to that slot that you have open right there at shooting guard? That remains to be seen. But Peterson, even if you don't do anything, Peterson, if he whatever excess stuff he gets out of his life or creatine or whatever, all the other stuff that was talked about, you get Peterson was the number one ranked kid in high school not too long ago in his class. And that's something you have to look at as well. This kid has an abundance of talent, and he fits the right spot for the Jazz where they need it the most.
My prediction is that it will end up with Peterson with the Jazz. I do think they are willing to take that risk. Like, things could change, but I do think that they'll be plenty happy with getting Peterson with the number 2 pick.
I think any one of the 4 teams will be very happy with their pick. Caleb Wilson, I really like. I think there's a chance he could be the best of all of them. Any one of those 4 could be the best out of all of them. That's how good this draft is. Really strong indeed. It is, of course, though, Matt John. Matt, great to have you here, my friend. Go ahead and check out his great work on the Utah Jazz today, right there at the J Notes, part of the fan side experience. But before we head on out, any last thoughts from you on the playoffs, the draft, Chicago draft combine going on? A lot of people are looking squarely at the numbers, the aesthetics, the workouts against the chairs. Man, watch out for those chairs, man. We might want to draft one of those chairs because, they really slow some of these prospects down. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Well, I will say the draft lottery also kind of, as much as everything worked out for the Jazz, like it also is a cautionary tale for teams like the Pacers. Like, they tried to have their cake and eat it, and it blew up in their face. Granted, there's a rationale to acquiring someone like Ivica Zubac, but I think the Pacers would like to have that back. Like, if they had just made it top 5 protected, they would have both right now.
Yeah.
So it is funny to me that, as much as everyone, as much as tanking is the closest thing to building, is the most foolproof strategy for a small market team to build a contender, people don't like watching tanking. So to see all of that go for nothing, that is so painful. Like, it's like the Nets when they had to give up the Jays to the Celtics. They were doing the Celtics work for the dirty work for them. So it is just funny that this is a good reminder of why you have to be cautious about the deals that you make.
I'll say 3 things on this because I know that a lot of people are really pooping on the Indiana Pacers right now. In fact, the general manager himself had to publicly apologize. A rare thing you see where a GM apologizes for making a move like that. Will Ivica Zubac take them back to where they were before Tyrese Halliburton got hurt? If they do this time next year, we're not questioning that trade. B, what happens at number 5 if Darius Acuff or Flemings or whoever's picked, the kid from Illinois, whoever's picked at that spot or right after it, if the next 5, 6, or 7 players any one of them become a hit, if any one of them become a star player or become a really good player, then a lot of people are going to frown on Indiana for that move. The last thing is, and everybody forgets about this, the 2031 pick that Indiana makes, because that would have been the pick that they would have had to give it up if they kept it in the lottery. What do they do in 2031? If they get a star player in 2031 that wouldn't have meant to, that would have gone to the Clippers instead, then it changes the whole dynamic as well. So again, a lot of parameters to look at this before we say it's just automatically a bad trade by Indiana. But obviously the odds right now are not in their favor to start the way we started off. The odds are not in their favor, Matt.
It's like most optimistically, it's like the Pistons back in 2003 when they took Darko and who did nothing, but they still won the championship anyway. So that's kind of what that's probably the best case scenario for them. I am also looking forward to seeing what the Clippers do with that, because they have to think about their future with Kawhi and whether or not he gets ousted because of the aspiration scandal. I could see them using that to try to get their hands on Giannis. I do. I'm looking forward to, like, there are just so many possibilities. Like, one last thing I'll say about the draft is that in last year's draft, the top 5, I don't think any of the teams have any complaints about who they got with their picks in the top 5 this past year. And I think there's a solid chance history's going to repeat itself this year. I do think that no matter how the order shakes out, I don't think Washington, Utah, Memphis, or Chicago. This could even go further, because I do think there are a few more talented prospects in this year's draft. Like this, in the top 8 or 9, guys were like, yeah, we're pretty happy that we landed that guy. We may not have gotten higher, but we made the most of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing like who goes where and what kind of rewards they will reap from the player they pick.
I agree as well, my friend. We will wait and see, but I will definitely have more draft coverage right here on the site as far as on the NBA observations, and also your insight on as much as you're available to do so. It is, of course, Matt John. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the JNotes at thejnotes.com. Matt, always great to have you here. Glad we got a chance to catch up. Glad we got a chance to vent on the Celtics and Lakers, our teams, and the playoffs. Looking forward to seeing by this time or next we meet, we'll be hopefully talking about the championship series, the league championship series, each conference as far as it's concerned. So I'll be looking forward to that as well. So Matt, great to have you here, always providing your great insight and also your awesome NBA observation.